Many students, have this idea, they fear that product management is something which is not technical. They would move away from coding.
I would start off with the Steve Jobs anecdote. He said, you first make the user experience and then build backing technology to really see that how technology enables that experience. I think product roles are very similar to that. What it really means is, are you solving the end user's problem? You're not really away from code. Problems lead to skills. Skills don't lead to problems. I've seen tons of apps in Silicon Valley with the best UI, the best UX, the best engineering who are in graveyards. The future is mile wide and mile deep.
How to get that entry role and then lead to a product manager?
Sure, I would definitely say.
Hi everyone, welcome to Product Management Summit 2025. Today we have with us Mr. Shravan Tickoo, a seasoned product leader. He has been mentoring and aspiring more than 5,000 students for product management roles. He's one of those leaders, I would say, who have made product management accessible and relatable to students. And the way he explains makes it very simplistic and the frameworks become more realistic to the students. Hi Shravan, welcome to LPU.
Thank you very much. I think it's a privilege to be speaking to you, and I'm super grateful that I have this opportunity to help students more and more. And once again, super grateful to LPU and you for bringing me here and giving this opportunity to speak to all of you.
Yeah. So Shravan, as you were a part of Product Management Summit yesterday, there were a lot of questions that were there with the budding, first year and second year students in the auditorium. And there are certain questions we collated through our poll, that what are the questions that you want the answers to be. And this is the one which we are going to discuss today. So the first and the most prominent question was always, because they are aspiring engineers and MBA grads, so it was around their career readiness. So they want to understand what are the most important skills that they should attain by final year, or if they're in final year, they should get it to start developing now if they want to become a product manager.
Sure. So I would distinguish the skills in two parts, right? One is very actionable archetypal skills, which is like what should be their personality, and second, more practical tactical skills that they should develop across. I think the first thing from an personality archetype should be empathy, listening to other people and their problems, right? And not judging them. And at that skill set, if they develop from very early in college so that they can see contrary opinions and not feel offended or judged by it, I think that is a very, very important skill. The second skill that I would definitely say is consistency. Whatever you pick up, maybe making a proof of work or maybe making some kind of a portfolio, be very consistent with it, keep doing it over a certain period of time. That will hone your skill set. The third thing is belief in yourself. Very strong belief in yourself that making mistakes is okay, but repeating them is not okay. And you keep learning from them so that your error rate on mistakes kind of goes down. These are like more archetypal skills: confidence, attention to detail, nuance, and things like that. But I think the more tactical side would be that there should be a way for them to present their work, build something like a proof of work. And people do that in many ways. They can create a Medium profile, they can make a Substack profile, they can do projects, they can make their LinkedIn profile stand out, right? And that is something that they should start from day one itself, so that by the fourth year, there is enough information about them and their personality and their work on the internet and to the recruiters, so that people can really understand beyond their resume that what sort of personality they are. Do they have all of the skill sets that they need for the job, which is analytical reasoning, shipping ability, execution detail, focus, which is very, very important for a product manager.
Great. Now, obviously, there is this part which comes more soft skills and more attention that you talked about, and then they need to be consistent about it. But there are certain technical nuances that they need to be. So many students, have this idea, they fear that product management is something which is not technical, and they would be on a side of a role which is, they would move away from coding, or they would not have a relevant technical background for the next role. Please share some light that.
Sure. So I would start off with the Steve Jobs anecdote. He said, you first make the user experience and then build backing technology to really see that how technology enables that experience. I think product roles are very similar to that. What it really means is, are you solving the end user's problem? Let me just give you an anecdote around it. For example, you're making a landing page, and in a landing page, you want to show your product, whatever you're selling across, and the landing page is slow. It is not loading fast. So you will have to sit with the dev and help him understand that why is the landing page loading so slow? Is the code not written a certain way? And you will need those technical details. But the other side also is true. For example, the page is loading fast, but the design is not very good. Then you sit with the designer and say, what can be my design philosophy which can enable us to have a better conversion for this end user? So I think more than looking at it that whether you will be away from code, you have to see what is more closer to the problem. And being closer to the problem means whether it is business, whether it is design, whether it is engineering, you have to be at the center of it and enable that the core experience gets solved for the end user. So you're not really away from code. You just have to contextually use it that problems lead to skills. Skills don't lead to problem, right? And this mindset has to come from very early for a product manager. So you will have to be the best or AI fluent or enabled in all of these skill sets across the board, and you have to be better at all three, four, five things, which is very similar to an entrepreneur also. And that's why you see a lot of product leaders, whether they're from technical background or not technical background, end up being in CEO role.
Okay, so if I put it, they have to be jack of all trades, jack of all. And that's where they would not be leaving technical, but they would be going on to further nuances of it.
Yes, I would just want to add one line: jack of all trades, not master of one, but master of few. Master of few. Yes.
Say. So with AI, and this is one term which is right now moving around like anything among students, even working professionals. With AI and emerging technologies which are reshaping the industry, what technical and business trends should aspire product managers to be the most aware of?
Sure. So I think you have to start thinking of AI not as an automation or a tool, but rather a thinking partner for you. So as good your thinking acumen is, your AI will respond very similar to that. It's like just a replication of the human brain, right? So there are two types of skills that I would really want to talk about. And one is coming from Ryan Rolinski, who is the CEO of LinkedIn only, right? The uniquely human skills like having empathy, having attention to detail, good judgment, right? That is going to stand out very deeply in the age of AI, which is one side of skills. The second side, I think it's very important, is how do you do good instruction design, which very similarly is termed as how do you do good prompt engineering. What it really means is how do you define a very good prompt? Who am I? What is my objective? What is the task that I want to get done? What's my goal? What my guardrails? And if a person can think very meaningfully like that, then the response from any model and any LLM is going to be super meaningful. So even if somebody is preparing for a product interview and he can mention the situation very, very well, the AI can contextually reward you back with either good questions or good advices, which you can follow across. So these two, a myriad of both of these skills. One, learn better instruction design and better business acumen comes from there only, right? And the second part is focus on uniquely human skill sets so that people can tell you their deep fundamental understanding of the requirements that they have. If you don't have empathy, somebody is not going to speak their heart to you and you will never understand their problem. I hope these two. Yeah.
So practically using AI as your thought bot, throw around things on it, try with it, take some ideas, see how it works, what refinement needs to be done, but don't copy AI.
Yeah, don't copy AI. Don't think that AI is the solution. If you don't ask good questions, AI is going to give you good answers, right? It should be a way to improve your thinking capacity, not shunt it.
Great. Okay. Now, let's talk about the entry part for the students. So you've mentored thousands of product managers who are aspiring product managers, I would say. And based on that, what is the most effective roadmap for a graduate to lead their first role and then eventually lead to a product manager? On day one, obviously, they might not be a product manager, but how to get that entry role and then lead to a product manager?
Sure. So I think it should start from very deeply understanding the problem space. So a lot of times students come to me and they say, I don't have a product background. I come from a very different or maybe arts, engineering or some kind of a background. How do I showcase my skills? So I always tell them that for a product role, you have to be very, very credible or outcome focused, right? People are generally output focused, but you have to be outcome focused because if you are not solving the pain point for the end user, right, what's the point even if you're spending 16 hours or 17 hours in a job, right? So what you typically do is you build credible evidences in your profile which can stand out and say that you have done something. Like for example, maybe let's take an example of a fresher in a college and he wants to show that whether he has leadership, which is a very important skill set for a product manager. So what he can do is he can just go out of his way, probably lead a cell, and in that cell define it very objectively that what were the outcomes of for the cell. For example, it can be 1,000 students in a year. who are participating in that. Second, it can be organizing 5 events, which probably brought 50,000 footfall. Or it can be the third thing that he pooled up money of 20 lakh rupees to make the self-sufficient. Now, these three things on the resume will definitely stand out that this person has leadership qualities. Similarly, you can not just do it in an event management space, you can also do it from a product lens. Like, for example, you feel there is this problem that I wish to solve. Maybe there is no virtual library in the college and I want it to be accessible. So how do you essentially think about that problem, that what should a virtual library do? What sort of people? What should be the right solution space, and make a document around it or make a mock-up around it using tools like Lovable, Replit. These are all AI tools, right? And if you do that, this also shows that you actually thought of something, thought from the problem space and came to the solution space and solved it, and show it in your link. And the last thing that I would definitely say is that make a portfolio of sorts, right? Which is again your proof of work, which should be like that you should know the person before even knowing the person. Knowing the person. So if there is enough evidence on that portfolio, right, where you have done case studies, solved problems, probably shipped out products and showed your highlight, that would be a very strong indicator for someone to essentially hire into a APM kind of a role, which is an entry role. And once you get into that kind of a role in an interview, because what you are essentially testing is only product sense, product execution, reasoning ability, which is again a function of what you have done. So in that role, the first thing that I keep telling people, and this is something that I had spoken long back, right, that for the first 30 to 60 days, your goal should not be to give advices to others. Your goal should be to learn from others, so that after 60 days, if I ask, ki, hey mate, what is your learning in these 60 days? You should be able to see that if I put myself in the shoes of the user, I exactly know why the user comes, what is the value. And if you understand the user journey very well, rest of the skills will be a byproduct which will come across. Yes.
Beautifully put, beautifully put. So they need to focus on certain problems that they get identified at university level. Yeah. And that's where I think so universities like help you, where, there are interdisciplinary courses and a lot of students and a big infrastructure. So they could pick up certain problem statements where they can improvise and say that, okay, I can make the student experience more better. Yeah. By just doing this, and these kind of problem statements when they put out would help them.
I just want to add like a 10-second bit to it. My first boss, whenever I was in my first role, I used to go to him with a lot of problems, right? And he, after listening very patiently to me for like maybe 30 odd minutes, he said, Shravan, why are you here? I said, I'm just telling you these problems, these exist. And he said, you're here because you have to bring solution. And that's the mindset that he probably brought in, that being in the problem space is great, but it's the whole shippable experience that really makes a great product manager.
Yeah, great. Now, if we ask students here to pick simple everyday product, say a campus app or even a cafeteria system, what one framework they should use right now to think like a product manager and suggest improvement? Something related to the previous.
100%. I would definitely say that you do very good problem discovery. For example, a lot of people ask me this question that I'm making this 10-minute delivery app, right? Which should work like Zepto or other things, right? But they typically don't understand the nuance. What I mean by nuance is that it may not be 10-minute delivery, which might be the actual problem. It may be quality. It may be price. It may be something else. So first have a very good understanding of who is my user, who am I building it for, why am I building it, have I prioritized the problems very well. Once this thing is done, then only jump that whether the solution is a campus app or maybe it's a website, or maybe it's a physical experience, you want to make a kiosk and put it there. So a lot of people have this problem, they jump to the solution space very quickly. Like, for example, if I ask, sir, how do you increase engagement? The person will say, make a chatbot. Make a chatbot, which may not be the most appropriate way of looking at it. So the framework that I would recommend is that do your discovery very well, have a very good understanding of the problem space, and after spending like 60-70% of your time in the problem space, then jump to the solution space and figure out what is the mode, whether it's an app, whether it's a kiosk, whether it's a website, whether it's something else that you want to make across. Eventually, the goal is that the end user should feel an elevated experience. It doesn't matter what is the mode.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's do a rapid fire before we close this discussion. One tool every aspiring product manager should master.
Sure. So today I would say it's something like Lovable or Replit. The reason for it is because you're moving away from just doing good instruction design to more on the lines of building a prototype. Because if you show It is way better than writing a document, because document is still an abstraction. Somebody has to understand it and put it into translation. It is like a sculptor, if he shows a statue, would be way better than if he explains it to someone.
A common mistake fresh graduates makes when preparing for PM role.
I have already told you, I think it is jumping to the solution space again and again very quickly, because we are all as humans wired to say that this might be the solution. I think very good product managers spend considerable amount of time in doing discovery very well, because if you misunderstand the problem, there is no point of making the solution. I've seen tons of apps in Silicon Valley with the best UI, the best UX, the best engineering, who are in graveyards. Yes.
If you give students one book, podcast, or resource to kickstart their PM journey, what would it be?
I would recommend two, right? The first one is the Lean Product Playbook. It's by Dan Olson. It is a very good way of thinking in product fundamentals and structuring your thought process. Very entry level and deep enough for you to ignite curiosity. I think the second book, which I personally like, is Range. Range, why generalists thrive in a specialized world, in a super specialized world. And I think that is the next future, because everybody should become systems thinkers and product managers in the futures and solve major problems, not just at a like people generally are either mile wide and inch deep, or they are very deep. I think the future is mile wide and mile deep. Yes.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Shravan, for sharing your thoughts. And it would benefit students. They would be aspiring for product management roles, and then this advice would take them ahead.
Thank you very much, sir. This means so much. And once again, I'm glad and I'm super happy that LP is doing such a great job in mentoring students, and in whatever capacity we as leaders can help you. It's a privilege again. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.